keep it going. So it gets you up. But yeah, we're ready for sure.
Okay, great. So I think we should wait for maybe 2 or 3 minutes because
Sure.
people are attending, and
That's
yeah, we
absolutely.
have new ones here. Okay. So you
And
have meeting in 1 hour from now, yeah?
yes, I've got a meeting at 12 o'clock our time. And because what is it? It's 4 o'clock in London. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yeah.
Great.
4 p.m.
Okay. So your
Yeah.
day is already done, and I'm sure you've got a busy weekend planned, and which is
Not busy, our weekends when when you have a startup, all there's no work-life balance. It's just about work-life integration. And so
I
you
know.
need to be in love with your work, unless you cannot survive, because every time, even in your rest time, you're just thinking about your business. So my chance is that I do love my business, so I enjoy it. For example, even when I'm doing my, for example, if I can remember every minute of my life, even when I'm going to sleep, even under bath and other places, I'm just thinking about, okay, what we should do for the next part. Okay, and I do
Yes.
love this. It's not something overwhelming for me.
I I completely understand it, and you're passionate about it, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that takes it to a different level. And yeah, I totally understand that type of attitude towards your work, and it doesn't shut off. And it's
Yeah.
funny, and thank goodness you've got energy to do that, because a lot of people, they have a very denouement of energy when it zaps them like that, because it's literally 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Yeah.
But you're into it. And I think that's great. Think of the people that hate their jobs and have to
Yeah.
go to
For
spend,
them.
8 to 10 hours a day in something they really don't like. It's not as empowering, that's for sure.
Yeah, I know, I know. But for me, I think I told you, for example, when I started in my first longevity company, it wasn't like this, because for me it was just a business, and I just saw that everything is overwhelming. My hormonal balance was fucked up and other thing. But after a while, and I didn't feel vital anymore, and I was just 27. And
Wow.
one of the things that I think I do believe that I owe to longevity is that after just some small lifestyle modification, nowadays I can say that I have a lot more responsibilities. I have a lot more anxiety and stress, and everything is much more serious. But actually, I don't feel like that. I don't. I'm far from the burnout path.
Right, right. You're having
So
fun.
I yeah, this is I think this is not just the love you have for your career. I think that my lifestyle right now, it's helping me. For example, sleep is super helpful for me. Small
That's
supplementation, for example, vitamin D. I used to be vitamin D deficient, and nowadays I can see that, okay, now I'm not, and so I feel more focused. I feel that I'm more vital. And water, as you can see here, it can
good. Hey,
it's
I'll
some
join you. I've got it too. Very
okay,
good.
cheers.
We're on the right we're on the right path.
Yeah, great.
So
So I
good
think we
stuff.
can start it, Jamie. Thank you for accepting our invitation.
My
It's really
pleasure.
our honor to have you here and learn from your experience. As I told you, longevity and aging and other things, we just know them through articles and data, and it's very inspiring for us to see a person who is real, and we are seeing him and he's living longevity, because you're sharp, your body, even your posture is much more better than me. So, it's,
Not sure
yeah,
about that, but it's
it's really inspiring for us.
thank
So,
you.
first of all, I really appreciate if you introduce. I know you're a famous guy. Lots of those I just sent the poster. They were like, "Oh my God, Jamie!" And I was like, "Seriously? You all know him?" And they're like, "Yeah, we grow up with him."
Yes. Oh, for sure. A lot of kids that were in college, way back when. I
Yeah.
mean, we did those videotapes, Dorsa, as crazy as it sounds, 30 years ago, 30, almost to the day, 30 years ago. It was 1994, and then we released them in 1995. But here we are 30 years later, and not a lot has changed, I must tell you.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Would
Good.
you please introduce yourself to those who don't or not lucky to know you? Because
Oh,
lots
no,
of
thank
us we
you.
are from Gen Z, and maybe lots of our attendees don't know you in a way that others do.
Oh, good. Well, I'll give you the 50-cent version. I have to tell you, I am an exercise physiologist from the American College of Sports Medicine. I also have a degree in mass communications, which we can talk about under broadcasting. I've been doing this since 1985. I've been helping people, and we've had the pleasure of helping millions of people lose millions of pounds and inches. I've been on a lot of TV shows, including Dr. Oz, a lot of home shopping networks, QVC, HSN with products. I think the biggest thing is recently wrote a book with Elaine Lelaine, which is, to me is so, to my heart because, with the Godfather of Fitness, Jack LaLanne, it was such an honor with the Elaine, if you want to live, move, putting the boom back to boomers. And it was so important. But really, through the years, Dorsa, it's amazing with modern technology. I I didn't realize people were putting my videos on YouTube. And through the years, they've accumulated over 100 million views on YouTube, which I think is significant. And so I started to think, my gosh, I still got a lot of pizzazz left in me. I started doing more fitness videos, and now I've got, over 150 8-minute videos that we're ready to release that are not just the abs and the buns and the hips and the thighs and the arms. That's what the original five. That's what we did. And now we've got a conglomeration of more videotapes, and we work out the whole body, the heart, the cardiovascular, the resistance, the flexibility, all components of fitness in 8 minutes. Dorsey, the funny thing is, I've made a career literally, and if people who don't know this, on the idea of doing time-oriented programming. When I did this, Richard Simmons and Jane Fonda, they were all doing 60 minutes. I
Yeah.
thought, okay, 5% of the population is actually getting up and moving. So let's go the antithesis of that and say, okay, let's just do minutes here, minutes there. It all adds up. It's accumulative. So we come up with this idea of doing 8 minutes. There's 1,440 minutes in a day. We're saying, hey, start with eight. Get the couch potatoes up, start with eight. And then if you've got time and if you've got a little more oomph and a little more energy, do 16 minutes, 24, 30. But you have to have that hook was the 8 minutes. And it stuck. And then, Dorsa, the funny thing was, after a while, people were coming up with 2-minute abs, 6-second abs, and all these products. And it was like, all right, but we were kind of the originator of the time-oriented programming. And it sticks to this day because they all live hurried, hectic lifestyles. And the first thing that goes is like, oh, I don't have time to exercise. Yeah, you have the time. Make the time. You've got 1,440 minutes in a day. How are those other segments of your day? That's only 1/80th of your day. What are you doing in the other 179? You can spend it on yourself. You deserve it. You owe it to yourself to give yourself that time because, people don't stop exercising because they grow old. They grow old because they stop exercising. And I'm a firm believer in that. And I can tell you, he who has no time for his health today will have no health for his time tomorrow. And so if you don't do things today, because, Dorset, to me, that heart attack at 50 started at 20. That the Alzheimer's that at 70 started when you were 40. The idea of loss of mobility and independence at 80 started when you were 30. So the aging you want, tomorrow starts with the routines and the rituals that you do today. So it's so important. So, people that are listening right out there that are maybe 20, 30, 40, you got to do it now. And I'll tell you what, it doesn't take a lot of time. It takes the idea of, people talk about motivation. It's not really about motivation. It's about routine. And I've got to tell you, I do a routine every single morning, Dorsa, and it's great because it starts the day off right. And to think about this, and listeners out there, take heed of this because I'm telling you it works. I do 50 push-ups a day. Now, if you're just starting, start with 20. So you multiply 20 times 30 days in a month. That's 600 push-ups you're going to do during the course of the month. This only takes a minute and a half of your day, okay? Then I do you can do a 30-second plank or a minute plank. Now that's 15 minutes to 30 minutes to get a slimmer, trimmer, tighter waistline during the course of the month. Do it every day. I do 25 squats, okay? Doesn't sound like a lot. Every single morning. That's 750 squats during the course of the month. Now, do you think that makes a difference? Absolutely. Physiologically, yes. But What it does mentally, I've already started my day off right. No matter how bad the day is going to get, I know that I've already spent it good on myself for my health. You know, to me, good health isn't about chance, it's about choice. You have a choice every single day to make an idea of saying, look, I'm going to move today or I'm not going to move. Okay. You have that choice. You have a choice every day if you're going to eat healthy or if you're not going to eat healthy. And that's your choice. Nobody's putting a gun to your head to say you got to eat that donut or you got to eat, chicken breast. You have a choice every single day. And that's what we're about. We're about, healthy choices. And you don't have to be perfect. You focus on progress is more important than perfection. Nobody's perfect. So that's my 2 cents. I hope that helped.
Exactly. Yeah, of course. And something very interesting for me, Jamie, was that back then in 1985, I've searched that, and there wasn't any article about how this small amount of exercising can affect. But nowadays, there is a good article in Nature Aging that they did a research in a great sample, and they understood that even they called it exercise snacks, like the snacks we eat during our meals,
Bite
during our
sized. Right.
day. They're exercise snack, yeah,
Yep.
and they do have effects in decreasing HbA1c, which is one of the most important biomarkers in metabolic health, and also they just saw the effect in the cardiovascular health and other things that we do not, and even in fat loss, because actually we burn about maybe 300 calories when we do exercise in the gym, but small amount of exercising in our busy lifestyle with our busy calendars, when we are in our office, for example, I myself, whenever I sit, for example, after 45 minutes, I just woke up, do something, go up and down of the stairs or do a wall sit, because I do know that this the side effects of sitting long time, it can have most lots of adverse effects and side effects in my cardiovascular health. And yeah, there nowadays the science is telling us also that doing a small amount of exercise can have a serious effect in different systems of our body. It can be our metabolic system, it can be our cardiovascular health, and other things.
Oh my gosh, Dorsa, 100% correct. Movement is medicine, right? I mean,
Yeah.
stagnation is our enemy. There's no question about it. If you rest, you rust, right? And it's not just about any exercise, and especially as we age. What you were saying about burning those extra calories during the course of the day and fat burning possibilities, it's important to know that it's about resistance training. You get that after effect and that burn, if you will, with resistance. And that's the thing. You don't have to be Arnold Schwarzenegger. You don't have to spend 2 hours a day in a gym. That's out the door. That's not what this is about. Because what happens from a physics standpoint as you age, something called sarcopenia, and I'm sure that was in the article. Sarcopenia is muscle leaking. And what happens is you see people in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and above, they get, shriveled up muscles and their muscles atrophy. Not a good situation because here's the fact, especially on metabolism. We want to rev up metabolism, right? Like you were saying. And so little increments of exercise, it actually increases your metabolism every time you do the exercise. So if you can do a couple bouts during the course of the day, you're getting double the effect. But the muscle tissue takes over your body and you burn a lot more calories at rest with muscle tissue. And that's the key. So you have to think about physics. And so any type of resistance is going to get you that less less muscle from a standpoint of, the fact is when you, especially ladies take heed after the age of 30, okay, you decrease your muscle tissue 3 to 5% per decade. So by the time you're 50, 60, 70, you could have lost 20, 25% of your muscle tissue. It doesn't sound like a lot, but what happens is the same amount of calories don't yield the same response in your body anymore. You're trying to think, well, I'm getting a little lumpier and bumpier in certain areas. It's because guess what? The muscle tissue decreased your metabolism. Your body says, well, you don't have to feed me as much because guess what? You know what? My metabolism is lower. And all of a sudden, now you're in trouble because the fact is now you're saying, okay, what am I doing wrong? I'm still eating the same foods. What's going on with my body? It's because the muscle tissue is lessened. And that's we need to rev it up by doing just strength training. And it could be bands, it could be your own body as resistance, it could be water weights. It doesn't matter as long as it's a resistance and overload to your system. And that works 100% of the time. It doesn't work 50% of the time, it works 100% of the time. So literally, if you rest, you rust. And that idea of really focusing on sarcopenia as you get older, so important. And getting fit never gets old. That I can tell you. I can tell you that from the bottom of my heart. And what happens, in your listeners out there, what happens if you do nothing at all? What happens if you do nothing? We know the repercussions of not moving, whether it's heart disease like you're talking about, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, type 2 diabetes, what if it's dementia, right? If it's mobility issues. Those are all things that we know could happen. It could be forms of cancer. You never know with the idea of moving. So we have to understand the physics behind this. And that's why I can tell people, if you don't make time for your wellness, you're going to be forced to make time for your illness. We don't want that to happen. We want to lessen the gap between your lifespan and your health span. Does that make sense? Because that's what we're talking about here. And we want to live longer, especially people my age. You want to live longer, you want to look younger, and you want to feel better on a day to day basis. Now, when you're younger, you don't think about those things. But like I just said, these things, the aging you want tomorrow is starting today, the habits you make today. I always tell people, watch how lean people act. Lean people lead lean lives, and it's their habits which make them lean. Cooking, eating, shopping, fitness, but more importantly, thinking habits. You almost have to think like a lean person thinks. They don't have a diet mentality, they have a health longevity mentality. And that's where I think people need to be. It's not about perfection, okay? If you cut out complete food groups, guess what? You're never going to stick with it, okay? And diet is extremely important. We'll talk about that. I think that, it's an 80-20 rule here. There's no question about it. Most of this is nutrition based. I have to tell you, your fork and spoon is your best piece of fitness equipment. Don't let anybody fool you. And I got to tell you, it's funny. People say, well, what do you eat on a daily basis? Well, good. Look, this is my lunch. Okay, you've got all these vegetables. You got Brussels sprouts. You got carrots. You got tomatoes. You got nuts in there. You got green leaf. But there's a lot of food there, right? But I
Yeah.
got to consume, and I do that with a protein shake, and that's my lunch. And I've got to tell you, because people say, well, what do you eat to stay so lean all these years? It's ritual. That's what I do every single day. And guess what? I know it works. It might not work for a lot of people. It works for me. And so you got to find what works for you. I have access to that because I work out of my studio, so I can do that. But it's all about rituals. It absolutely is about routine over motivation. And I know it
Exactly.
works.
And Jamie, one another question. Our clients, lots of them, they can see a huge gap between their situation and those healthy people situation. They just think that healthy lifestyle is super hard to have, and just those fit people that go to that they're a runner, or they have lots of gadgets and wearables and have a bunch of supplements and they are healthy, and because of social media they just see very fantastic bodies and lots of investments in other things like wearable supplements, different diagnostic tests, and because of that they just see that okay, it's very hard to get.
It's not,
It's
yeah,
a
I'll never get
huge
it.
boundary between those and us. So I just I just watched your VHS videos from YouTube and
Ah,
your
yes.
energy, and it was like you were like, okay, hey gangs, let's do it today, and it's just about 8 minutes, just so stand up and do other things. I think
Mhm.
maybe your opinion in this part, that starting is the main point, and this it's just about the starting, and then you can achieve to lots of things. But the main problem, the major problem I can see in our clients is that they think that their mental state is like that. Okay, I'm not healthy, and it's very hard for me to start being healthy. Can you say about your journey in this
Well,
clients?
I can tell you, no, Dorsa, that's real life. And I always focus on, to me, I don't believe in hypesters or hucksters. I believe in going straight through a college book because, you get media out there, especially social media. They got gurus and this and that. I know what works and I know what doesn't. I go back
Yes.
through my college textbooks because they had nothing to sell you. You got books out there or magazines or social media gurus. They got things to sell you. I go right from the old school because I know that's tried and true. And the fact is, look, just what we were saying before. Yeah, your viewers out there and clients would say, okay, you know what? I don't have a lot of time to spend in a gym because it's overwhelming. They go to the gurus out there and they say, oh, you got to spend 45 minutes an hour, working out 3 times a week with weights, and then you got to do cardio on the side. Listen, I understand all that. It's physics. But if you're talking to a person who is non athletic or maybe is intimidated by going into a gym, listen, you can do it at home, anywhere, anytime. It just takes some initiative to get up and move. And that the idea of saying, look, minutes here, minutes there, it all adds up. But it's not just any minutes. More is not better. Better is better. And that's what I'm saying. So you have to include some type of resistance, okay? That starts them off. Start with just 8 minutes. Start with 5 minutes. Doesn't matter. That's what propels them to get them motivated to do it. Also, when it comes to nutrition, people love to eat. And I'm a firm believer you got to eat. I believe it. Don't stop eating, whatever you do. I think that's the worst thing you can possibly do. But then it comes down to what are your goals and objectives. If you want to lose weight, okay, it's an energy equation. It's physics, okay? You're either storing calories or you're burning them. I don't care what anybody says. However you want to get to that end unit, 3,500 calories equals a pound of fat. No matter, it's good for me, you, Dorsa, anybody who's on this call. So it has to come down to portions, okay? There's a couple of things I'll tell you about nutrition, and I work with dietitians every day. I'm not a dietitian or a nutritionist. However, I've been around them for 40 years. And the bottom line is this: get handy, okay? When it comes to portions, use your hand, okay? 3 ounces, gang, fits in the palm of your hand, okay?
Mhm.
That means protein, chicken, fish, turkey, beef, pork, tofu. It fits in the palm of your hand. For guys, maybe 4 ounces, okay? Now, for starches, your rice, your potatoes, your pastas, right? That's the size of your fist. I'm Italian, okay? I'm half Italian. I can tell you, go into an Italian restaurant, they serve you a heaping mound of pasta, right? Now,
Yeah.
it's 4 or 5 times more of the actual serving size you should have. So that's a serving size, the size of your fist. For vegetables, it's 2 handfuls right here, right? That's the serving size. Okay. Now for fats, it's your thumb and thumbnail. So you can literally use your hand as a portion control device. And people say, well, what foods are you eating that makes you so lean? Well, I can tell you, lean, clean, and green, Dorsa. And that I always, people remember things, sayings, okay? So lean, you need to eat lean proteins, okay? No question about it. And that means what? That means, again, chicken, fish, turkey, beef, pork, tofu, you name it, okay? Keep it lean. All right. The clean end of this, limit the empty calories, okay? Clean meaning you want wholesome food most of the time, okay? It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want to have things that have less sugar in them for a lot of reasons. Maybe we can get into that. The other one is green, right? You got clean, you got lean, and green. Eat as many vegetables as you can. I'm telling you, they fill you up and not out. That is the basic principles. And it's kind of almost a Mediterranean diet, right? And people say, well, I am so confused by all this protein talk and all this, the carbs, the macros, and this and that. Well, I can tell you, I go again from the old standby of college textbooks and dietitians. And I can tell you this: for people out there that, let's say, don't know how much protein they need, there's a standard kind of guideline. Okay, it's 1.75 to 1 gram of protein per body weight. What does that even mean? Well, let's say if you're a 120-pound person out there, that means you take in maybe anywhere between 90 and 120 calories, or excuse me, 120 grams of protein per day. Now, if you're a 150-pound person, that's 112 to 150 grams per day. Now, if you're a 200-pound person, that's 150 grams to 200 grams of protein a day. And I've got to tell you, Dorsa, when you start looking at that, people are going, holy mackerel, how do I get that much? Because a single serving size of chicken breast is about 25 grams of protein. Well, let me tell you, if you got to get 150 grams of protein in, that's a lot of chicken breast, right? So what do you have to do? At that point, and I don't believe in any crazy supplements, but I think any type of nutrition shake at that point to get in all the extra, grams of protein you need might help. Okay, because who's going to sit around and eat 6 chicken breasts a day? I don't have that time. I don't know if you do. And then people go, okay, well then at least you get the sufficient amount of protein because you need protein again, certainly not for muscle building, but just muscle recovery. And then people are going, okay, well, if that's the case, well, how many calories should I take in a day? And again, I follow a standard guideline here. Whatever your goal weight is, and this is anybody out there listening, you can say this, okay? Whatever your goal weight is, times 12 equals the amount of calories on a basic general, review of what you should have per day. So for instance, let's say you're a 150-pound person, but you want to go down to 125 pounds, okay? You want to lose, 25 pounds. So you go 125 times 12 or 1,500 calories a day would be about your number of calories to take in to get to your goal weight. Let's say if you're a 175-pound person, want to get down to 150, you go 150 times 12, and that comes out to 1,800 calories a day. That's what you need to get to your goal. Now, if you're a 250-pound person, you want to get down to 200, which is 50-pound weight loss, which is fantastic. What does it mean? Well, you want to multiply 200 times 12 or 2,400 calories for the day. Those are general guidelines. If you stick with that, I'm telling you, you can't go wrong. And just like you said, Dorsa, there's a lot of things to help you out there. There's a lot of A1 or not A1, but AI stuff. There's a lot of, these hyperbaric chambers. There's, infrared saunas. There's, cryotherapy. There's oxygen use. Bottom line is it's physics. And I can tell you till you're blue in the face to have all those things. They're great. They're great. But what comes down to it, it comes down to physics. It comes down to good nutrition and it comes down to fitness. I don't care what anybody says. For longevity, you got to get up, fuel up, and live it up. Trust me, that's the end. Those things are great, and they're gadgets that's come along. But I can tell you this, Elaine Lillane, who I wrote my book with, right, which was again, if you want to live, move, putting the boom back to boomers with the philosophy of Jack LaLanne in the back. But I can tell you this, she just turned 99, guys, 99 2 months ago. And the fact is, she moves every single day, even if it's for just 15 minutes. She's out there doing something, right? And she eats extremely healthy, but not perfect. And that's the thing. When it comes to nutrition, Doris, I always tell people, look at your plate and look at your choices every single day. And if you could say, okay, is this meal going to get me closer to my goal or further away? And if you could say 8 out of 10 times, even 7 out of 10 times that you're getting closer to your goal, guess what? You're going to win at losing. Now, if you're going to say that I'm going to be perfect on my diet, I'm never going to have a piece of bread again, too many carbs, listen, that doesn't work, gang. I can tell you that because if they're passing, you're out in a social event, you're out to a dinner and your friends are having, a tortilla chips or they're having a piece of bread and you have to pass that basket and the bread smells great, it's warm. What does it do to your soul? It deprives you. Life's too short for that. Deprivation is a sure way for failure. Have the piece of bread, enjoy it. You don't have to have the whole loaf. Okay. It's just like somebody was telling me today. They had a birthday party this past weekend and they just basically denied themselves birthday cake. And I said, why? It's a birthday party. We always say, you know what? Have the 3-bite rule. 1, 2, 3 bites. That's okay. I mean, you don't have to eat the whole cake if you don't want it. But if you rob yourself and deprive yourself, I'm telling you, you're setting yourself up for a disaster. Okay. And that I can tell you, go back to the idea that we said 3,500 calories equals a pound of fat. Okay. You have to understand that theory. It's good for every one of us. So what happens is now you have a bad day at work or a bad emotional day, right? You have 10 Snickers bars, Dorsa. That's a bad day, right? Now they're 260 calories each, okay? So now you go, okay, I just ate 10 Snickers bars, 2,600 calories, right? 260 times 10. Now, in the big scheme of things, what did you do? You didn't even gain a pound, okay? But what did you do mentally? Oh my God, I can't believe I did that. I can't believe I ate 10 Snicker bars. I'll never stick with anything. I can't do this. You beat yourself up. It was stinking thinking. We don't want that. My thighs are too big. I can't start anything. No, that's the wrong attitude. You can do this. It is baseline doable. And by the minutes that you're doing, the portion control, by saying you don't have to be perfect with your nutrition, there's going to be days where you're not going to be as healthy as you want with your nutrition. And you know what you got to say? So what? So what? You pick it up the next meal, the next day. That's how you win long term. I had a great person tell me this the other day. We talked about plating their food. So let's say your food comes out at a restaurant, and anybody can do this. So what you do is they have the plate right there. That's your plate, okay? But then you have another plate, and you actually literally plate your food with the portions that you want, not what the restaurant gave you, okay? So that's your plate, okay? That's your plate, the one you actually dished out yourself. That works. Okay, remember, fork and spoon, best piece of fitness equipment. Because listen, if those calories aren't coming in, you don't have to burn them off. That's how you see results. Because it's all about results and outcome based, Dorsa. Let me tell you, because if you don't see things happening in some transformation, you get discouraged. Never get discouraged, gang. I'm telling you, if you live on those principles that you know you need to eat enough protein. I always tell people with their diet, Dorsa, it's so important when you think of the word diet, right? The mentality is you can't eat that, you can't eat this, eat less of this, eat less of that. Change the juxtaposition of those words and say edit, EDIT, not DIET, edit. That means more, more fruits, more vegetables, more whole grains, more healthy oils, more proteins, more water, more movement, more sleep. That juxtaposition in your mind alone is the idea of how you win long term. Because if you're on a diet mentality, you will fail because it's temporary. I want a lifestyle mentality, and that's how you do it. You just think about diet and edit those words, change them. You want more of the good foods. We didn't say you can't have your cake and eat it too. You can. How about 3 bites? So it's those type of things that work long term. Remember, that's rituals, that's routine over motivation. It works.
Exactly. Oh my God, I'm just like, oh my God, how? Because Jamie, in our generation, what one of the main problem is that people are obsessed with different data and using different tools instead of doing action, making action, or do something. They just want to read about another biomarker test or
Yeah, sure.
use another application to track, and all of them, they have lots of to do and not to do, and after a while they just say, okay, it's very overwhelming and I cannot enjoy my life, so stop it. But the way you're simplifying each step from diet, that you're just describing one of the most hard to get thing with just your hands. and
That's
and
it.
yeah, and the way you're simplifying it, and this diet and edit, it works. It works even for me, that because I've never seen in that way, that yeah, just it's all right, Dorsa. Okay, nowadays, for example, today you're anxious and you have a craving for sugar. So okay, you can this is this is not this mental set that you should be punish yourself because of, for example, doing something. This is not longevity. I'm sure that it's not longevity, because it can be overwhelming. And longevity is a journey. It's not just about, okay, do this and do not.
Darcy, you are 100% right on. And I think with the modern day, and there's a lot of things out there, like you say, the trackers out there, but it's about implementation is the key. I don't care what
Yeah,
anybody
exactly.
said. You were talking about, you got to do this, do that. Just do, don't stew. Procrastination won't get you there. You got to just get out there and do it. Go for a walk. It's great for you. That's okay. Get out there and move, right? And I think the biggest thing is too, is that, with kids these days, I think it again, with the idea of these phones, I'm not sure if they were good or bad for us because there's a lot of information that some is good, some is not so good. And I think they just put added pressure on you to be something you're not. Now, I can tell you this, guys, this is from a person who's now 64 years old. Okay. Now, I can tell you that those pictures, a lot of times on the internet, they're digitally enhanced. Okay. So
Yeah.
trust me when I tell you, they're duped. Some of them, I can tell you a story and I'll share this with you. So Kathy Ireland, which is a supermodel. You've heard of Kathy Ireland, right? The great Kathy Ireland. I choreographed her two videos. Did really well. And this is going back to 1997. Okay. So Kathy, I meet her every single day for 3 weeks at Santa Barbara, right? Knock on the door. Kathy's, she's in like no makeup. She's great. She's a beautiful person, inside and out, by the way. So all of a sudden, now here's a supermodel on the top of her game, Sports Illustrated supermodel. Now, at the end of our sessions, they come out with the box on the is VHS, so you can see how old it is, right? So it's a VHS tape. All of a sudden, I'm looking at her. I'm going, okay, on the VHS tape, her eyes are white. She has no crow's feet. She's got her hair's boofed out a little more. It was digitally enhanced, and she's
Yeah.
beautiful, absolutely stunning, beautiful. But what they did to her is amazing. Even the supermodel. So I know they dupe things, and she didn't need to be duped. By the way, she didn't have to be, having all this digital enhancement. She was perfect the way she was. But it was the idea that that's what the media does. So you always fail by comparison. So guys and girls out there, please don't compare yourself to anybody. Focus on yourself. That to me is the biggest challenge you have out there, especially nowadays, because you have all those things at your fingertips, but you still have to implement it, and you have to you have to do things that are from a strategy standpoint that are tried and true. Don't cut out complete food groups. Don't think you have to run a marathon. Don't think you have to spend 2 hours a day in a gym. That's overwhelming for anybody. So I know that that doesn't work long term. Do what you can do, and pick it up the next day if you don't have a good meal. It's okay. It's all right. Don't beat yourself up. So I hope that's words of wisdom for you. And longevity wise, Dorsa, I can tell you, it's funny. People in the United States, the average lifespan now is 76.4. Okay. So growing up, we used to think, okay, middle age is 50, right? You think, oh, yeah, middle age. Everybody says, well, I'm middle age. I'm 50 years old. No, if the average lifespan is 76.4, guess what? 38 is middle age. Okay. So when you start thinking numbers, guys, it's creeping up. Okay. And these decades start running into decades. So again, spend the time on yourself. Okay. It doesn't take a long time. Focus on your meals. You don't have to be perfect. Follow the 80-20 rule. It works every single time. And that, you know what it does? It lessens the idea of you have to be perfect. It's like, whew, I don't have to be on a diet. I can eat the foods I like. I can go out. The dietitian tells me all the time, okay, you know what? People are going to drink out there. And that's okay. God bless them. That's fine. But guess what? If you're drinking, well, that's extra 160 calories, let's say in a glass of wine, a 4 ounce glass of wine. Well, guess what? Something else has to come off if your goal is to lose weight, if your objective is to get lean. So then you got to take off half a starch and a piece of fruit. So guess what? You can do it. Nobody's saying don't have it. Nobody's giving you that scold. And so there's how you implement a program that's lifelong. And I hope that helps because I think that's the key to this. From a longevity and toolkit idea. How do you work this long term? And you got to. There's three things I always told myself growing up. When I was your age, guys, I called it the 3D system. And I always try to name things. It's discipline, dedication, determination. Nobody was going to outdo me on that because I knew every single day that when my guys, friends, they're out partying, they're doing this and that. I got to tell you, I was in the gym at 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning going to college because I knew that's what I needed to do to get to the next level of what I wanted to perceive as a career. And so I knew that was for me. I don't expect people to do that, but it worked for me. So you have to find that balance in your life. But everybody says, well, if you don't have time, well, I don't have time to do that. Well, listen, break in a piece of paper, write in a piece of paper. You say, okay, three levels. What do you do between breakfast and lunch? Write what you do every day, from lunch to dinner, and from dinner to bedtime. And if you tell me you can't fit in 5, 8, 10 minutes a day to work on yourself or your from movement standpoint, then you've got to reprioritize what you're actually doing. Okay, because I know it's not about having the time, it's about making the time. Okay, and then circle it. You get that on your calendar or on your day plan or whatever it may be. That's your time. Nobody gets it. Okay. You don't cancel on a doctor appointment. Why would you cancel on yourself? You only have one shot at this thing, right? At life. So again, lifespan, health span. You want to lessen the gap. It starts today, not in the future. Okay.
Great, thank you. The one important thing when you talk is that even your wordings or your literature, they are empowering, you know. When I hear it, I just feel that, okay, let's do it. And this is something that we need to refine and edit it in our healthcare literature. You know, in healthcare, we are just making people fear of death or disease, or
Without a
but the way
doubt.
you're talking, it's empowering. Thank you. So I just
Thank
want
you.
to ask some questions from you.
Sure.
Uh, please, Jamie, tell us, what does a day in your life actually look about, for example, your habits, your work, your sleep routine, and other things?
Well, Dorsa, I can tell you, I'm a pretty boring person. Just ask my wife. I I live, sleep, and literally breathe this. I have to tell you, it doesn't shut down. I get up 5 o'clock every day. By the time I take a shower, my breakfast is very much it's the same almost every day. It's oatmeal, okay, with some nuts in it. I actually put skim milk in it, which is good. Not for everybody, but some people are dairy adverse. But that's I start that. Then I've got non-fat Greek yogurt with a piece of fruit that I put in there. Okay, that keeps me until about 10 or so. Then at that point, I have a piece of fruit, and then of course you saw what I have for lunch, of course, with a protein shake. And then at that point, at some point during the day, I'm working out. Okay, and so I have an advantage here because I do own a fitness studio here, and through the years, I've still kept a few of my clients. And so I actually do one-on-one with my clients that I've had for 12, 15 years. And they're very special to me. And then the rest of the day, believe it or not, is focused on programming, content. Like I said, we just shot, 150 extra 8-minute workouts. It's always a marketing and so forth. So that fits most of my day. And then when I go home, my wife, who is in her 60s as well, I work her out 3 days a week. So that's a day in the life. And then at dinner, it's usually again exactly what I was telling you. It's a protein. It's a starch. I have a sweet potato every single night. I've got broccoli every single night, and I make water my best friend. That I can tell you. And then I gotta tell you, I'm probably in bed by 10:30, 11, and that's it. It's very boring existence. We have one daughter who just got married last week, which is an honor for
Congratulations
us.
again.
And
Oh,
she has taken, it's funny, perfect example. She's 28. Her husband now is 30. And I got to tell you, they work out 6 days a week. So you know, kids certainly I would say, you emulate your parents and so forth. So, we work out, we keep ourselves healthy and lean, and we've eaten healthy all through her life. And here she goes. Now she's doing the same thing. And so that's funny. The fruit doesn't fall far from the tree, as they say. So it's a great honor for me to see that commitment to her health and to know that she's going to be strong and fit through the course of her life. And so that's important. And so really that's it in a nutshell. There's not much more to me than that. I've got to tell you, and that's day to day. And
so
I
you
just
don't have
lived
any
it.
cheat day, Jamie? You don't have any cheat days
Dorsa,
that
I got to tell you, to be honest with you, I really don't. I really don't have cheat days. I don't know what that is. My wife complains about it. So, why don't you eat something? I said, I'm not really hungry for that. Uh, I do have raisins in my oatmeal. There's a cheat day for you. But I don't eat a lot of sugar. Dorsa, believe it or not, sugar, it's funny. The average person takes in 22 teaspoons of sugar a day. The average person, it's about 355 calories. The USDA says, okay, what should you have? Well, for females, they're looking at about 6 teaspoons a day. Okay, for males, 9 teaspoons a day. But even that in alone, saying, look, they're not saying completely cut out sugar. It's very difficult to come out and say, I'm going to just cut out completely all sugar because there's a lot of hidden sugars out there. So just that alone. So when you say, I don't necessarily eat candy, but it's very empowering knowing that if I wanted a piece, I could have it. It really won't make a difference. And why is that? Muscle tissue, guys. You want
Hmm.
to increase muscle, decrease body fat. I don't care what anybody says. And so the exercise prescription for me at least is always it's 3 days a week on upper body, 3 days a week on lower body. And then if anything told me, Dorsa, in when I was growing up, when I was 30, it was always they said, well, back then, you had to do, they told you had to do, 30 minutes of running or 45 minutes of running or some type of cardio. I can tell you this, if anything told me one thing, that was not true. Yes, if that was your goal to run a marathon or run 5Ks, that's great. But to get that ticker moving and really focus in on, VO2 max, which is your volume of oxygen, which is important for longevity, you got to get that ticker up and make it where it's, and I'm not saying do Tabata or hit, especially when you get to my age. I like to tell people instead of high intensity interval training, let's get lit. Low intensity interval training. You're still doing muscle building. You're still having cardiovascular, the fusion. So it's the optimum program in the least amount of time. So if you do that and you kill two birds with one stone with that, trust me. So you have two different components at once. You're constantly moving. I love that fusion. That's the type of workouts that I do now. I do basically sprinting. It's nothing that's long, long distance at all. Now, when I was 30, it was, like I said, a little more cardio with the long distance. What good was that? It increased the chances you're going to have joint problems. I don't
Yeah.
need that. So it depends on your goals, your objectives. Now, if you're going to be a marathon runner, guess what? You got to run miles. Okay. There's no doubt of it. Specificity of exercise, it's called. You have to do that. But if you want overall health, think principles. Okay. You got to do some cardio, you got to do some strength training, and of course, you got to eat healthy most of the time, not perfect. And if you do that day in, day out, you start seeing results. It's like, you know what? Maybe I won't have that extra piece of chocolate cake tonight. I'm starting to feel really good about what's going on with my waist, or my pants are fitting differently. You need that reinforcement and outcome-based programming. And we know physics. Like I said, this doesn't work 50% of the time. It works 100% of the time if you do it. Unless you have thyroid problems, then that's about 2% of the population. So most of it's 98% is lifestyle decisions. So I hope that helps people to say, you don't have to be
Course.
perfect, but just get out there and move. If you rest, you rust. I'm telling you.
Thank you, Jamie. Thank you so much. I really want to ask our attendees if they have any question, they can unmute and ask by themselves from Jamie, or if not, they can just write their comment or their
For sure.
questions here and we'll answer it because I I can speak with Jamie at least 5 hours because I just like just talk, but I know that he has a meeting and we should just wrap up our conversation. So if is there anyone who wants to ask a question, you can just raise a hand, or if not, you can write in the comments. Okay, Muhaddisa.
Nice.
Yes, of course. Thank you very
Hello.
much for this empowering session. And thank
Welcome.
you, Jamie, for this energizing session. As someone on a journey through science and longevity, I found your approach refreshingly human and doable. You've turned 8 minutes into a lifetime of better choices. And your
Good. Good
philosophy
point.
proves that consistency doesn't need a clock, just a commitment.
Oh, that's great. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much
very
for those
much.
kind words. Really, thank you. I appreciate that. And I believe that consistency beats intensity any day of the week. Be consistent. Remember, routine over motivation, guys. And Dorsa, one other thing that I want to say, and it's important because if people would have told me, years ago, what was the one thing that maybe you haven't really mastered yet? It's sleep. If we would have told me years ago that you needed more sleep, guys, that is one thing for recovery you need, especially when you're younger. You think, I don't need to sleep. You need it because it affects a lot of things. It affects your health, your energy, your mood, your emotions, and those are all things that we need, in this lifespan, if you will, of longevity. And so, get that sleep in, guys. however you can. And that's so important. And try to relax once in a while. I know it's tough for me sometimes. I got a lot of energy, but I'm always fidgeting. And my wife is like, stop tipping. I'm beating on the table. She's like, will you please stop that? And you're driving me nuts. And it's just you have to expel that energy somehow. And not that I'm this ever-ready bunny, but I will say this: I believe you only got one shot at this life, so you try to be as energetic as you can. And I'll tell you, if you do this, guys, there's a couple things I can tell you. Just get up, fuel up, and live it up, and you're gonna do fine. So if you have any questions, Dorsa, please have them contact me. If you think of anything,
Of
I'm
course.
easy access. I'd be more than happy to do that. And guys, Dorsa, by the way, if anybody wants some of the videos, I'll send them the videos free of charge. You guys can have them, and you'll really
Oh,
enjoy them, and you'll like it. I guarantee you'll like it.
you have lots of young fans right now because
Ah, good.
all of the people they're just sending me text message in my private message that we love him, and I say, I know, I know. Thank
Well,
you for
hey,
your
I'm
kindness.
married though, guys. I won't take that off. So that's it. I'm stuck with her unless I trade her in for two 30-year-olds. But hey, that's a whole different conversation. But I've been married for 31 years, so that's it. So I'm gonna stay put.
Okay, there are comments here. There are lots of love emojis. Thank you, Jamie. You're inspiring. I enjoyed this session a lot. Thank you, dear Jamie. Thank you, Jamie. It was an honor. Thank Jamie for your great tips.
Ah,
Oh, everybody loves it. Yeah, I can.
perfect. Anytime,
Okay,
guys. Seriously, anytime you want to do this again, I'm great. But again, I'm going to send you, Dorsa, I'm going to send you some videos that you can disperse accordingly. And like I said, if anybody has any questions or comments, just please let me know, and we'll
of
reach out
course.
and make sure you're taken care of.
Of course, of course. There's another question, Jamie, before
Yes.
we say goodbye. Iman, you want to unmute?
Oh, sorry. Yeah. So
Hi.
first of all, thanks, Jamie and also
Hi,
for
Iman.
the session. Hi,
Appreciate
hi.
it.
So I had one question regarding if you go back in time, is there anything that you regret on doing or you wanted to maybe do it differently?
That's a great question. I will say this. Growing up in Ohio and so forth, when I went down to Florida for college, I had a vision to do something in fitness because I was an athlete all my life. And if I had a chance to do it over again, I would stick more with the TV end of this. Although I combined it, I have a degree in mass communications and broadcasting, and I was interning for an NBC studio in Tampa, and I wanted to be a sportscaster. And I wish I would have maybe implemented that a little more into this. And so when I got my degree in exercise physiology from American College of Sports Medicine, I said, well, I need to combine both of these elements and components. But I would have loved to see where that would have taken me. The actual TV sportscaster aspect growing up. I think that would have been an interesting journey as well. But no regrets from a fitness standpoint. No, I started in '85 in Los Angeles as the personal trainer out there, and that kind of catapulted me to come back to Tampa, which was a smaller market. LA was crazy at that time, and that was the hub of fitness. A lot of people were not doing personal training out, in Tampa. So I came back sort of almost like a bigger fish in a smaller pond. And that's where we started to do fitness segments on TV, an ABC affiliate there. And that's how we started to conjure up this idea of doing 8-minute abs. And it was the idea of producing this. And the rest is history when it comes to that. It's funny, guys. You're probably all familiar with P90X and Beachbody and all that. The gentleman
Yeah.
who was the marketing person behind Beachbody, but the marketing person who obviously owns Beachbody, the marketing person behind 8-minute abs was Carl Deichler. Carl, of course, went on to produce all the Beachbody and the billion-dollar business. And but he cut his teeth with 8-minute abs with the marketing, and he knew going out to LA was the key, and he started that empire right there. But it was great. But yeah, I think the biggest thing is if I had any career path that would have taken me to a different journey, it would have been the TV broadcasting experience. and I probably would have loved that as well. But I love helping people. I have a true passion to help people live their healthiest lifestyle through proper nutrition and mild forms of movement. I really do. And it's so gratifying. Guys, I can tell you this. I daily get still people who write to me and, where they say, you know what, I've started your program 30 years ago. You've saved my life. I can't even tell you how this has happened, with cardiovascular stuff, people in their 60s and 70s. I literally, and Dorsa can attest to this. I had a gentleman email me 2 days ago. He literally said he started our program in 2011, but he was doing 8-minute abs and 8-minute buns and all these other things. He enjoys my new stuff, but he literally lost 110 pounds. Okay. And here he was, he's in his early 30s. Okay. He's not 60, he's not 70. So he obviously said, my mother used to do your tapes when I was growing up and I remember them. And it was just so funny. It touches your heart. I mean, that's huge. You're saving somebody's life. You're assisting in them in their health. I can't tell you that what that does is so gratifying. So I'm in this for good, guys. And so I'll ride this one into the sunset.
Thank you, Jamie. I can say that absolutely it was one of that I cannot say one of the best. It was the best webinar we ever had.
Oh,
And
thank you so
thank you
much.
for joining us. And
Thank
I
you.
myself, I've learned a lot from you, a lot.
Good.
And I hope to keep this connection with you. And I'm sure
For
that lots
sure.
of our attendees, they also enjoyed this webinar. Thank you so much.
Good,
We don't
guys.
want to,
Thanks a lot, guys. Learn it,
thank you.
live it, lose it. You're going to love it. Let's go.
Have a good day. Thank
All
you
right,
so
guys,
much.
take care. Good luck to you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye-bye.